And what is going on, everyone? And welcome to another edition of Houston Texans football on the Roundtable Network. I am one part of your show, Ruben Calvillo, and these two handsome men next to me, AD from the H-Town Rundown and Harley from the Lead. And last but not least, Mr. Houston Texans commenter himself. Welcome,
Perfect timing.
boys.
Perfect timing, huh?
That was fantastic. That was the that was great. You guys know why we're here. The Houston Texans defeat the Chicago Bears, the number one overall pick, Caleb Williams, 19-13. They advanced to 2-0 on the season. I definitely thought this was an ugly game. Before we get into it, boys, this episode was brought to you and powered by BetUS. Make sure you take advantage of the 150% bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000. Later on in the show, we are going to see where they have the Houston Texans in terms of the 2025 NFL Super Bowl winner. Let's swarm like In-N-Out Mobile Dito says. AD, I first want to start with you. Well, actually, Harley, because Harley was at the game.
Yeah,
I was too.
Oh, AD, you're okay. Oh, all of you guys were?
you weren't swarming, man.
Am I the
You
only
weren't
person
swarming.
in the group, man? I was at the tailgate. Shout out to the Horns Up tailgaters and the A-Sound tailgating crew. Okay, hell, AD, we'll start with you, then go on the line. How was the environment on Sunday? The last time the Houston Texans had a Sunday night football game in was 2019, and just seeing the crowd and seeing everything, man, it kind of made me just like a little bit emotional at first because we haven't seen this in so long. But how was it, man? Take it away.
It was electric, but I will say being in the stands for the Browns playoff game, it wasn't on that level. Like that was almost like one in a lifetime type situations in that Browns playoff game. But it was electric. They had the light show going. They had the performances. They had Clay Walker messing up the national anthem. They had all of the different things. So it was a good time, man. It was fun. I was on the visitor side, talking crap with the Bears fans, like going back and forth at them all day. But no, it was electric, man. It was electric.
How was it, Harley?
It was fun. Gave us little light ups.
Yeah,
that was
nice.
Dope. It was in sync with a lot of the chants or any of the music that they had. It was fire. The crowd was loud. I wouldn't say to the Browns level, and I wasn't there for the Browns game. I was there for the tailgate, but it was electric. I will say that for a primetime Sunday night football game, it was loud. It was great. It was packed out. They were quite shout out to the Bears fans. They travel well. They showed up. All right, no problem with that. I like it. I like opposing fan bases. I don't mind it. Yeah, would I love it all Texan fans? Yeah, but man, I like a little trash talk. I like to get bad with it with the trash talk. So but it was a lot of fun, man. Lots and lots of fun. Yeah, that's basically it, man.
Tristan, how was the game for you? And then how does it feel to be 2-0 on the season?
Yeah, it was awesome. I think the one thing to note is they made a big emphasis on everyone getting there early. I know that was an issue last year and over the years with Houston with our traffic. And then honestly, I think the biggest issue and for people getting the game early is just like being able to walk into the stadium. So I felt like the lines were a lot smoother. So they must have done stuff on their end to clean that up. But to Harley's point, there were a lot of Bears fans. I don't mind it, but it kind of blows my mind. And I feel like it's always happened. I don't know if it's just because like Houston's like a good destination for opposing fans to go to. I don't know how that works out. If it's just the resale market, it's just the way it works out. If they're willing to spend more money, that's just how it happens. But I would like to see that ratio change to being more Texans fans. I don't think it's that we don't have fans or as much fans. It's just I think we're an exciting venue to go to. But as far as the crowd noise, I thought it was loud. I was at the Browns game. It wasn't quite at the Browns level. And I've been wondering myself, I think obviously the game flow of this game was just so weird. It was like long and drawn out. And, we never really kind of got on that run to kind of get the crowd just really, really ramped up. It was a low scoring defensive game. And then I wondered too, if the roof being open made a difference or not, but I did enjoy the roof being open. I mean, that made for an awesome atmosphere. I mean, it was immaculate vibes. So, And I don't know if you want me to start talking about the win or not, but I mean,
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, my nickname on social media is Houston Stressins, and just in case people forgot, if you watch Sunday's game, that's the exact reason why. It was a repeat of the entire 2023 season where we are the better team before the game, during the game, but we get ahead, we dominate the box score, and we have penalties. I don't think we had turnovers, but we have miscues and different things that just make a game that shouldn't be a game. We got a turnover. It was a K-maker, Sobel in the one. So that was the reason why that the game was close. But we play with our food too much, and here we are doing it again. And I was stressing when I should have been stressing. But after the fact, though, obviously during it, you're like freaking out and like so frustrated. But in hindsight, I know a lot of people are frustrated, but I'm very happy. I think D'Amico is very happy, and I think D'Amico wanted to win that way. And we definitely made a statement like, hey, we can win a game with a dominant defense. And I think that was a top-down approach from D'Amico. He realized that we had a rookie quarterback in Caleb Williams who couldn't do squat on offense. So I think he battened down the hatches, got super conservative. His mindset was, hey, don't turn the ball over, don't give him easy field position, and we'll just win it on defense. And that's exactly what they did.
Harley, he brings up winning it on defense. The Houston Texans had an NFL record on Sunday night. They pressured Caleb Williams 81.8% on his dropbacks, which is absolutely insane. This Houston Texans front four, front seven has lived up to the hype, man. What were your thoughts on them just making it hell for the number 1 overall pick?
It was a dominating performance on the defensive side of the ball. They had 7 sacks in total. They stuffed Caleb Williams in a locker. They treated him like a freshman on the varsity team or something, man. It was ridiculous. It was just, and what felt so great was, and I think all of us have the same opinion. This is a different brand of Texans football that we're not used to. And I mentioned the Bulls on parade before, and those guys, yes, badass defense, but they felt very nice guy. Like they reminded me, and it's a great dichotomy of the Houston Astros. The Houston Astros had Bagwell and Biggio, and they were the good guys, the killer bees, and Lance Berkman and Chris Burke and Eric Bruntley. And I could go on and on because I know too much about that. But, like they were labeled the good guys. They had a marketing term around that. And that's what feels like when it comes to the Bulls on parade, regardless of, even though Cushing and Watt were kind of like, badasses in their own right, especially Cush for different reasons too. And, so then you go into the Houston Texans era, and like the Houston Astros, labeled as the bad boys of baseball and kind of just bully teams whenever they want to, except tonight. But the Houston Texans overall, though, they showed you that they can bully teams. And they're not afraid to get in your face. They're not afraid to take a punch and throw a punch. Like, they're not afraid of it at all. They're not afraid to bleed. They're not afraid, man. And that's what I really enjoyed from this performance on Sunday night, regardless of the offense. And I know we're going to get there later.
AD, he brings up not afraid to throw a punch. That's exactly what our captain linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair did on the sideline. Like Hardy said in his video, which was a fantastic one, by the way, 1 versus 30, I like my odds. And I'm not going to condone the punch because that could get you fined. That can get you, suspended. However, what he said right there is, you're not going to bully us. This is Houston. You're not going to walk in our trap and try to disrespect us. And the fact that it had a captain patch on that jersey, it turned me up a little more. It's like seeing your quarterback put his body on the line for a first down, and, you get hyped. Like, I'm right there with you. Azeez Al-Shaair, he got me hype. I'm pretty sure he got the crowd hype. Your thoughts on that, and after, obliterating Caleb Williams, just moments before.
Yeah, I think the great philosopher said, if you see me and the bear fighting, help the bear.
Yeah, that's perfect, actually.
Exactly what Azeez came in that, because, he was literally covered in a sea of orange. Boo. So he was covered in a sea of orange, and it's like, he had, you got to do what you got to do. And he didn't back down. He stood his ground, stood on business, and he was about that life. And he was like, he said he even said post game he had to compose himself because they don't know him like, he's a nice guy, everything like that, but
he grew up homeless, bro.
Yeah, like the dude,
he's different.
Yeah, he's different. So like he literally had to fight for his life, his whole life. So like this is nothing. So don't you're not gonna punk him. You're not gonna punk Azeez Al-Shaair at all. So for him to get up in there, and let me say this, I was a little disappointed. What was the backup? Like what was the team supporting your captain coming in? Because it was literally on their sideline. You had their coaches, you had their training staff, you had all the players, everybody surrounding him in a big crowd. And I understand that you can't come across the field, but where were the other 10 guys on the defense coming in to support him and at least trying to help him pull him away from that fray? Because like you said, you don't want to see anybody punching. If I think, what was his name? Roshan Johnson.
Yeah.
It was like, man, it took everything in me not to go ham.
He deleted that too.
Yeah.
Oh, did he?
He deleted it.
I'm like, bro, you talking all that after the fact? This dude squared up on the sideline and punched you straight in your face, and you just sat there and took it.
We need the all 22 of like the rest of the team, like what they're doing, to see who's. I mean, I think it's a natural progression of the play. Like it kind of flowed away and then it happens real quick. So I'm not too concerned about no one being there, but
yeah, we saw people kind of rally, late.
Pitre was
I
over
just
there,
love that, he just was not scared. Like Hardy said, it's 1v30. It's just funny that as soon as he stepped up, he threw a punch, right, and then looked to his left and then pushed somebody away from him. Just the swarm mentality, man. And Stresser, you think D'Amico liked that fight?
Yeah, man. I wanted to speak on this. Like I'm in love with this topic. I mean, I was pissed off. I was at the game, so I saw it, and I didn't know there was a punch thrown until after the fact. But I mean, you listen to Azeez's post game in the locker room talk, like AD alluded to. Like he said, like he was on the ground, and they were like basically pushing him and kicking him on the ground. He said they were talking crazy to him, and he's like, I was raised different. Like I don't just take disrespect, like he's like basically not fake soft. So like if you say some stuff to me, like I'm gonna react a certain type of way. And then, like, to me, this is a major problem in the NFL, in my opinion, with these quarterbacks, baiting and trying to get these personal fouls for late hits on the sideline. It's if anything, they need to start throwing penalties on the quarterbacks for slowing up. I mean, Caleb Williams was doing it all game. He would sprint to the sideline, slow down, and stop in bounds, and like try to get the late hit. And then, if you do that, you're gonna get popped. So I mean, Azeez let him know, like, hey, you keep playing that, I'm gonna hit you, and good thing they didn't give him a penalty because it wasn't, but it's just BS that like one, it's a legal hit, and then two, the whole team just jumps on him like that. It really just irked me. And then the following day too, D'Amico shows he's a player coach and why he is. He had his back 100%, and D'Amico was kind of holding back a little bit, but you could tell he really, really loved that. And that is something we need in our team. Azeez Al-Shaair is the enforcer of our defense and our entire team. But that was evident to me after the loss to the Ravens in the playoffs when Roquan Smith was doing that to us. He was all over the field punking everybody. He was an enforcer. I realized walking away from that game, like, we need a guy with some attitude to set the tone. And we got that in Azeez, and that was a perfect example. So, I mean, D'Amico's hype. I'm hype. Let's go.
And, it wasn't just Azeez Al-Shaair who brought it. Jalen Pitre almost killed a man on Sunday night, and it felt like after that moment, this defense turned it up to 20. I mean, whoever was in sight was getting murdered. Harley, how did it feel seeing this Houston Texans defense violent, seeing the experiment of Jalen Pitre so far working out? Man, I love it. And then AD after, man, let's talk about these, these two edge rushers going a sack and a half each, almost a sack more each.
It's fun, man, especially when you got a good friend of yours in Cody Johnson that alluded like last year, like, hey, they need to move Jalen Pitre to the nickel. They need to move him closer to the line of scrimmage. Everyone really shitted on that idea. And I even was like, I didn't shit on it, but I was like, man, I'm like, how's he going to do on the slot? And, and I'm like, okay, Big 12 Defense Player of the Year, Baylor when he was doing it. Dave Aranda had a damn good year. reason why he was drafted so high. So okay, you know what? Maybe there's some truth to this bone, but I got to see it to believe it. And so far, this little experiment that they've been doing, it's working, and it reminds me. Oh boy. It reminds me of the New England Patriots, where you utilize guys to the best of their abilities. And the New England Patriots did that to so many guys, whether it was Kyle Van Noy, who really wasn't anything. But then the New England Patriots said, hey, you know what? We're going to use you as a special pass rusher. And then Kyle Van Noy ended up being pretty good as the years went along, ended up being a veteran. Now he's still playing in this league. You know, and that's just one example. I can go on and on and on. About how they utilize guys and use them to their best abilities. And that is what D'Amico Ryans is doing here with Jalen Pitre. It's fun to watch. It's fun to see. And it's good to see Jalen Pitre. We saw something in him his rookie year, and it was very upsetting to see that sophomore slump. If that's an understatement to call it a sophomore slump, because it was ugly. It was not pretty to watch last year. And that's why we kind of were like hesitant on this idea about putting him in the nickel. But man, I mean, Will Anderson said it best. Jalen Pitre likes to have a condo in the trenches, and every once in a while he likes to visit there. I mean, that right there got me hyped, man. I'm excited about it, and I love seeing it. And damn, Jalen Pitre looked badass on Sunday night.
The buzzsaw.
These edge rushers, AD.
So, hold on. Exactly. Harley brought up the point of D'Amico using players to their best ability, and he's doing that exactly with Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. He's letting them go crazy in pressuring the quarterback and just teeing off and headhunting. So exactly what their game is. That's Danielle Hunter's game, is a certified headhunter. Pause. And Will Anderson, that was his game in Alabama. He was extremely successful, just teeing off and not having a responsibility to kind of do everything and just doing one thing and rushing the passer. They were great, not only in rushing the passer, but they were also great in the run game as well. I think one of the first plays of the game, Danielle Hunter combined with Fadakowski to stop DeAndre Swift in the backfield on a sweep. What is it? A toss play early in the game. And it just shows their ability when you're letting them play loose as they are. They're able to affect the game in a lot of different ways. But I mean, Caleb Williams must have went to Diddy house and got some of that baby oil, because I don't know how he kept slipping out of those sacks and he kept getting away. But definitely, they were in his face, in his grill all day long. Shout out to Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. Hell of a game. Honestly, it should have been 3 sacks apiece. But, Caleb Williams.
Stressins, we saw the Houston Texans secondary get 2 interceptions, one from Derek Stingley, one from your rookie cornerback, Kamari Lassiter. Hey, check this out. Both of your rookies in the secondary have an interception. Your thoughts on our cornerback tandem. There was some concern, about this secondary heading into the season with a rookie at safety. And then, everyone talked about how slow Kamari's Lassiter 40 was.
Yeah, I mean, that was all BS. I mean, 40 time doesn't always translate to game speed, but I mean, maybe he is a step slower, but he definitely makes up for it with his relentless mindset. And that's what D'Amico loves about him, is he finishes. I mean, as a defensive back, you can get beat on a play, but as long as you finish through the play and knock the ball out, you still win. It's the same result. But, after week 1 against Indy, we had some concerns, but I really do think that was just part of the game plan. And obviously it's just week 1 rush, but I think the quote unquote, they weren't even busted coverage. They were just getting beat. I think that we, stopped the run and sat on the intermediate stuff and dared AR to throw it deep essentially. But in this game, a way for D'Amico to say how good our secondary was his game plan. Like in the first quarter and a half, Caleb Williams was kind of moving the ball, you could tell, but we were running a lot of zone. And, so D'Amico started to dial up some pressures, and he realized it worked. and it works, and it works, and he just kept blitzing. But you can't blitz like that if you don't have guys on the back end that can hold up in man-to-man coverage. So that's a unique. They call it rush and cover. The front four is allowed to rush, and then you cover on the back end. But with those guys being locked down, it was just like a perfect synchrony. I mean, we got pressure. Caleb Williams felt it, and at times he had no options, but other times he was forced into dumb decisions, dumb throws, and he just threw up prayers. And then the ball skills for Derek Stingley and Kamari Lassiter are elite, and they played those picks great. And then Kamari Lassiter had another pick that was overturned on a BS. It wasn't even a holding call. It was on Henry toe in the middle of the field, other side of the field, and it was a play you see all the time. So, I mean, secondary is elite, man. The whole defense as a whole, I'm excited. D'Amico can do any kind of scheme he wants to any given week.
Yeah, and before we move on to the offense, and then I'll start with Harley in the offense, but AD, we have to talk about your best friend, number 39, Henry 202, or as you coined, Henry Noah. Now, he has been having a hell of a 2 weeks to start the season. He was your leading tackler Sunday night, a tackle for loss, a sack. Dude, you see the development of him under D'Amico Ryans. How is it like seeing this young linebacker kind of transform his game so far?
First off, I want to say you're welcome, Henry. But like seeing the development of Henry To'oto'o is a delight. Him coming in screaming with his head, on fire, making those plays in the backfield, like knocking the crap out of people, being aggressive, being violent, being that stout linebacker in the run game that we've been kind of searching for a while. We thought we had it in Bernard McKinney, but he was a washed out.
B-Mac.
So, but I think Henry To'oto'o is really outperforming the expectations of a lot of people, even his supporters. He's playing better than what they thought that he could be. I will say this, and I said it last night on my podcast, H-Town Rundown. There is going to be some conversation when Christian Harris comes back. Does he immediately just jump Henry in and taking playing time away from Henry the way that Henry's playing right now? That's how good of a game the first two games Henry has had is that now in 2 or 3 weeks when it's time for Christian Harris to come back, do we keep Christian Harris on the IR a little bit longer? Let him be 110% and just let Henry keep on playing the way he's playing and not trying to force the issue. Yes, you want your talented players on the field, but Henry To'oto'o is playing at a level right now that is mirroring what Christian Harris can bring in the game at linebacker. And right now, I would say that he's pushing the envelope on being the best linebacker on the field outside of him and Aziz.
He's grading that way on PFF.
Yeah, so I'm very, very surprised and shocked, and I'm very, very grateful that I was an inspiration to spawn this kind of play from him.
You're just gaslighting us now.
Right. Now we're gonna have AD start hating on every Texans player, so that they can just
all they need, man. Look, I'm telling you, I was so grateful. Henry is a watcher of the H-Town Rundown. I'm just thankful, man. I'm thankful.
He credited his diet and all stuff with Angelo. What were you saying, Stressens?
I was gonna say you should note, I think in my opinion the two big things obviously is tackling, and Casario's talked about it. Like, it's so like this is what good coaching can do. So that's why, like, as Texans fans as a whole, we have these players that we get worried about that are young and are still projects. Like, be patient because our coaching is elite. We taught him how to tackle with our techniques and whatnot. But he also had an interview, I think, with Landry where he basically said he was a fat ass. He lost a bunch of weight. So I mean, I think those two factors, he lost weight. And he, worked on his tackling with the good coaching, man. I mean,
he does look a lot faster out there now as well. Sideline to sideline. He was always quick going downhill, but now you see the sideline to sideline, the uptick in speed on Henry To'oto'o. So
I would say the last thing too, though, is he's learned the defense. Like Aziz Al-Shaair has said too, like this Nico Ryans defense is tough already. but to learn it as a rookie is even tougher. And he said he was in that same situation. And then you can also factor in the fact that Al-Shaair is there to mentor him and help him as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of things at play as to why he's improved.
Mm-hmm.
This defense was just fantastic, and we too can't wait to see what they do against a 2-0 Minnesota Vikings offense. Harley, the Houston Texans offense, though, in my opinion, underwhelming. We have yet to see this passing attack be as advertised in week 1. It was the running game and Joe Mixon that got you the win. This week, I would say it was Kaimi Fairbairn being one of the best kickers in the NFL. 350-plus yard field goals, 2 of them from the logo. He was just automatic. Your thoughts on this Houston Texan offense? You know what went wrong? Wrong. Oh my God.
Wrong. Okay.
All right.
By the way, man, Henry T, 6th-round pick. Like that just goes to the good coaching thing. Like that's why I'm like, man, a 6th-round pick, dude. Like I know he kind of fell to us, but man, that's just
the
amazing.
Linebacker whisperer.
You were hating on a 6th-round pick, AD, like that. That you gave him a nickname? Come on, that's top tier, bro.
Hey, whatever it takes. I'm willing to die for this shit.
See, AD just like me, Ruben. Like number 97 for the Los Angeles Rams. He started playing good at joint practice because I told him he smelled like shit. And he pointed right at me. And all of a sudden, he ramped it up.
I thought we were going to get our ass beat by an NFL player, bro.
He wanted to kick my ass, like straight up. He looked at me every single time there was a play made. Anyway.
Whenever he did that, I was just like, "Hey, bro, that's him, bro."
And I was still talking shit. So hey, man. Anyway, the offense, the laughter is going to calm down now because we're going to talk about this offense and from Sunday Night Football. As much as we talked about how the crowd was electric and it was loud and there was energy. In the third quarter, the offense deflated us. The third quarter specifically, and it was just like, yeah, the game really stretched out. It was long. You know, you had that sideline injury from one of the side judges. I believe it was one of the chain guys that got hurt. You know, I didn't see exactly what happened, but they had to bring the card out. They brought everything out for that dude. I was like, oh, man, this is taking a while. Next thing I knew, it was like 10:30, and we still had a whole fourth quarter to play. I was like, oh, man,
Dude, that stream was 4 hours that I did. I was like, holy hell, dude,
so
fuck prime time.
Let me say this. We did have a delay for it felt like 20 minutes when the guy got hurt. The little sideline guy got hurt. I'm hopeful the guy is doing well, but that pissed me off that we had this longer delay. And he was all the way on the back of the sideline. He was damn near to the stands. So I'm like, we could have just keep playing. Let's go. Like, I don't, you know.
Hey, I was blessed and I went to the restroom at halftime. I usually never do, and I got stuck. So I only missed one play because of that. So shout out that guy. I appreciate it. Except for the traffic at the end. I didn't get home till like damn 12:30.
Oh, same. 12:30
here. He did his job. He did not let go of that chain. So he was backing up Harley, and you know how on the field they have, you know, like the yardage, and you know, for those who don't know, those are weighted. They're like about 20 pounds of sand in them.
Yeah.
Backs up, head hits the turf, boom, but did not drop the chain. That's how you know he's a veteran at what he does. Hey, will me not, but I will not run away. Harley, this offense once again.
Yeah, man. Like I said, the offense was very underwhelming. It was disappointing, actually, for a game that I was hyping up for the Texans to flex on primetime football. I was pissed, and hell, I'm still triggered about it because you only dropped 19 points on the game, 7:20, 7:30 game. All the eyeballs are on you. You know, you got the whole world watching you. It's Sunday Night Football, and you dropped 19 points on me. You know, like, and I know the national media kind of playing catch up and they're hyping us up, you know, because they haven't really watched the Texans a lot. Defense, absolutely awesome. Offensively, I was bored. And Bobby Slowick, there's some questions there that I got to wonder too. Tank Dell being misutilized. What's going on here? He had more rushing yards than receiving yards. I mean, that's not what I want from Tank Dell. What happened to lining him up on the X as a traditional wide receiver? He proved to the NFL and the Houston Texans last year that, yeah, I can play on the outside, because there was a lot of questions due to his height-weight combo coming out of UH. And, I understood it. I watched Houston Cougars a lot, so I know Tank Dell, and I know he could be a traditional X receiver. We didn't see none of that yesterday or Sunday. We didn't see none of it, and that's what I'm really upset about. Sure, people can say, "Oh, well, if he had that catch, we're talking differently." No, I'm not. I'm talking about 2 catches in. He would have a long touchdown possibly, because I don't think no one's catching him on that play. We're talking 2 catches and 1 play like that. That is something that irked me. Is the Tank Dell misutilization. I need to see Bobby Slowick. And look, I'm not trying to say force feed players. Okay, I get it. We're going to share the football. But man, 1 catch for -3 yards, 3 rushes for 16 yards. You got to tell me there's some sort of a problem there. And I know maybe it's a little bit of an over exaggeration. We're only into 2 weeks. We could still see how this offense blossoms. Week 2 Texans isn't going to be week 10 Texans. But man, the offense was very underwhelming considering all the eyeballs were on you on Sunday night.
AD, what was your, just to follow up what Harley said, because I 100% agree. I thought the passing attack, the entire offense was stale. He brings up offense coordinator Bobby Slowick. This is now year 2. There's more weapons. What do you think right now has been the case for the past 2 weeks? The reason why we haven't seen this offense kind of explode, and, Stressens, I'll immediately have you go after.
Inconsistency. Inconsistency in play calling. Harley mentioned the reverses with Tank Dell. Like that is a play, like it worked the first time. That's great. But at that point in time, you're supposed to end it. Like that is supposed to be the last time you run that play. You can run, variations of it, like run some things off of that to kind of simulate you're about to run another reverse, but you don't keep running that. I think he ran Tank Dell on a reverse like 3 or 4 times in that game, and you're not utilizing your weapons to the utmost abilities that you have. When you have Schultz, when you have Tank Dell, when you have Nico Collins, when you have Stephon Diggs, we talked about it ad nauseum this whole offseason of all the different toys that you have to play with. It's like you have all these toys and you sit up here and you want to throw Jackson and shit, and you want to just disregard all of the action figures and all the stuff you got as a kid, and you just want to throw the rubber ball against the wall. So that Bobby Slowick has been inconsistent in play calling, and the feel for the game is very, very concerning. I know we talked about it earlier. That's funny. But it's just the fact that we definitely have to have some better utilization of the weapons. I mean, we talked about it on the space earlier. There's no reason that Xavier Hutchinson should be in on a 3rd and 6.
Harley got excited from that comment. He had to step away for a minute. Man, that was quick, bro.
But no, there's no reason why Xavier Hutchinson should be in on a crucial 3rd and 6, running a short of the stick slant route, expecting him to make a play when you have Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, and Tank Dell on the sideline. Like that
I saw that and agree with that. I'm hoping it's just Nico tapped out, but I mean that was a big play. I agree.
And again, like even if Nico is tapped out, Steph, like, and if Steph is tapped out, Tank, like I would have taken any one of those 3 outside. And that's not a knock on Xavier Hutchinson. He's just not those level of players. And it's just realizing I saw way too much Robert Woods. Like I saw, a lot of these different things. And I thought I saw something fresh coming out the gate when I think it was like 5 or 6 straight passes that we came out of the gate with on offense. If I'm not mistaken, before we ran that first reverse to Joe Mixon, running on the outside. But definitely have to be consistent. You started out throwing the ball, you were moving down the field, then you got past the 40 and you just got stagnant. And that's been the issue with Bobby Sloak and the offense since last year. Not red zone necessarily, because when we were in the red zone against the Colts, we scored. We capitalized on those plays, but when we got inside the 40, it's like I don't know what to do, and I hate that feeling when you have a accomplished. I would say he's an accomplished OC at this point because he did what he did with the Houston Texans last year. That you're not able to figure it out with all of the weapons you have to capitalize and score points outside of field goals.
Stresses, what do you think was one of the reasons why this offense couldn't get going on Sunday against Chicago? Well, was that defense that good?
I'm glad I'm last because I'm on the other side. I think it's nowhere near a big a deal as everybody's making it out to be. There's a lot of reasons. I'll rattle them off. One, offenses across the league are off to a slow start. Defenses are catching up. We're seeing like an enormous high of 2 high shells. 2, we just played a top 5 defense in the Bears. 3, we scored 19 points. We fumbled the ball on the 1-yard line. It should have been 26 points in an off game. 4, we had so many penalties that killed drives. The biggest issue was 3rd down. We were 4 of 14. We had drops, penalties, etc. The running game, like the mention of the Tank Dell and the reverses, he had 3 of those and 2 the game before. But this game we were doing it because our run game was absolutely terrible. So we had to try to get creative. And I think that a lot of it too, like I alluded to earlier, it comes from, I know Bobby's getting a lot of this blame, but I really do think it's from D'Amico Ryans. It's a top-down approach. As I alluded to earlier, once D'Amico realized that their offense wasn't going to do squat, he knew the only way that we would lose this game is if we gave them the ball in their territory with bad field position or turnovers. So, I mean, the conservative play calling, in my opinion, came from D'Amico, but I think the offense is more than fine. I mean, that Tank Dell drop was a big one, the fumble, et cetera. And then the misuse of Tank, I mean, he still had 4 targets. To me, the last week the ball it couldn't have been distributed even more evenly. It was like 6, 7, and 8 targets between the big 3. But it really does come down to, like, I know it's like boring cliche talk, but Slowick has said this over and over again when asked about, how are you going to get this guy the ball, that guy the ball. It's really dependent on the scheme of the defense that week. So, I mean, one week it may be this guy's week, and the next week may be that guy's week, just depending on what they do. And the Bears, they came out with the game plan. They saw what we did in the ground game against Indy, and they emphasized shutting down the run game, and they did that. But I think we're fine. I mean, like I said, we basically had 26 points on an off night, and it could have been a lot more. But I don't have any concerns. And honestly, I think the biggest overarching thing is D'Amico Ryans is the one who's defensive-minded head coach that's conservative.
Yeah,
go ahead, AD.
Speaking of overreactions, I saw this comment by Laro. I think that's how you say his name. He said, so AD wants CJ to drop back 45 times behind his own offensive line. That is an overreaction about the offensive line being bad. Like, the offensive line is far from bad and terrible.
Agreed.
And watching the All-22 last night, CJ had plenty of clean pockets. And I think it's an overreaction when you see the 2 or 3 sacks or whatever and the 2 or 3 pressures or 5 or 6 pressures, and people overreact to the fact of, sometimes I think 2 or 3 times CJ escaped the pocket in a clean pocket. He just bailed out, didn't even try to step up. He just bailed out of the pocket, wasn't even pressured. And people will assume, well, the offensive line, caused him to, bail out of the pocket. And that's an overreaction. I think that we gotta pump the brakes, calm it down. Let's reevaluate and really watch what they're doing and just not overreacting. Yeah, there were a couple plays. You had Patterson in miscommunication with him and the guards on some stunts that caused a couple of the sacks. But other than that, the offensive line played a damn good game. And he said 45 times. CJ Stroud was 23 of 36 or something like
36,
that.
Yeah.
And then if you include the sacks or whatever, he dropped back 40 times.
3 sacks.
He dropped back basically 40 times this past game. So 45 is realistic. So yes, I would want CJ to drop back 45 times.
Hey, the same thing happened against Indy too. People were overblowing the pass pro, and then a handful of these sacks as well are miscommunications with the O-line. And I forgot to mention a big point in all this too was the absence of Juice Scruggs. Juice Scruggs was a big reason why our run game was so effective against Indy. He's a mobile, agile center. So him being out, also with the Bears front seven, kind of shut down the run game. So that was a big deal. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely an overreaction on the O-line and pass pro. And another reason why, maybe he had to flee the pocket or got pressures as well is because they have a damn good secondary. I mean, I'm sure our guys weren't getting wide open. So, I mean, sometimes the play is not open,
Yeah, and
Hardly one guy. Go ahead, AD.
No, I was just saying in long developing routes, when you have routes that take, 5 seconds to get down the field, when you're running 20-yard digs and, go routes and stuff like that, and you're trying to get them open, yes, it's going to take time. And I asked this question on one of the chats, like, what's the optimal time, just to get a gauge of what the fan base is thinking? What's the optimal time in the pocket that you expect the Texans, a good offensive line to have? And they're like 2.5 seconds. And I'm like, if it's 2.5 seconds, you're not getting a 20-yard dig in 2.5 seconds. That's not going to come open. Or, a post route, a 25-yard post route or something like that, a deep post is not going to open up in 2.5 seconds. So it's not realistic. It's like you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't say, I want these big, long developing plays. I want these big plays, but I also want CJ to sit back in the pocket for 8 seconds and nobody coming around and touch him. Like, that's not realistic in NFL football.
So I think the criticism on Slowick in that regard, as far as play calling and running too many of these long developing routes, is fair. I mean, you need to mix it up. Like when it comes to those are your play action shots, and you kind of take your chances and you max protect on them. You don't do it every play. And especially on third downs, if you know you only need so many yards, and I don't know that Bobby does it, but I see a lot of OCs do it, and it kills me. Like, you need 5 yards, and then your shallowest route is 15 yards. Like, what are you doing? Like, run a mesh route with like 2, 3, 4 yard routes, So I'm with you on that. That's fair to me.
Harley, I think, one of the only bright spots of the offense was number 12. Nico Collins, 10 targets, 8 receptions, 135 yards, and a touchdown. When CJ Stroud said, this is our modern day Andre Johnson, I think a lot of us kind of laughed and we're like, okay, all right, let's pump the brakes. 100 yards last week, 100 yards so far. He has been the Houston Texans' number 1 wide receiver. And, man, he looks fantastic. Your thought on Nico Collins so far?
Oh, that's what CJ Stroud said. I mean, I just did a reaction video to Kay Adams, and she said that, he looks like his idol Randy Moss. And I wouldn't go there. The speed is very different than compared to Nico, but I mean, the physicality Nico brings at the wide receiver position is absolutely there. He is leading the league in receiving yards right now, I believe 252 off the top of the dome. I mean, he is number 1. She had showed, I believe it was like betting odds favorite or something for number 1 to finish in leading the league in receiving yards. And he's on the name. I mean, amongst the names are Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase. Like, these are the CD Lamb. Like, these are the elites of the wide receiver position in the NFL. And Nico Collins is number 1 in the betting odds favorite for that. That right there should just tell you alone that we have not fully realized what we got here in Nico Collins. And, hey, potential. It took a while. You also had some guy named Davis Mills throwing him the ball, a la Tyrod Taylor and whatever else that was in between that was trying to throw him the ball. Hell, not throw him the ball. So, Nico Collins has developed. And sure, it definitely helps when you get a quarterback like CJ Stroud. But Nico is also proving, hey, yeah, CJ Stroud's helped me a lot, but I can do this shit too. I can do this thing on my own. I can go out there and look like a dog on that touchdown. I mean, Tyreek Stevenson, buddy, you talk the trash, you better back it up. And on the very play, you get routed up. And then, Jalen Johnson, you want some too? Here you go, right in the end zone. Just little stiff arm push right off you, something slight real quick. And then, Nico don't even look at him. He just celebrate, like, all right, Nico, you ain't slick, man. I saw you push him off, man. Nico was magnificent on Sunday night.
Stressing seeing Nico Collins, kind of back up his season last year. 2 great games. You see the contract that he's currently on, and you're thinking, man, I got one of the best wide receivers in the NFL on a cheap deal. And like Juicy said, 12's out here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so happy. I'm blessing the hell out of this. I mean, there's been no bigger fan of Nico Collins than myself this entire offseason. Like, to me, it was crazy that half the fan base was saying he needs to prove it another year, and they were wanting to go get Mike Evans instead of him, or in addition to him. But to me, that's the best contract this offseason. We got Nico Collins, in my opinion, a top 5 wide receiver, which I've been saying at 24 million APY when you got guys getting 30, 33 million. So I mean, that's a steal. There was nothing about his game last year to insinuate that he would regress this year. He's only trending up. Nick Caserio has mentioned time and time again, when we drafted him, he was a developmental pick. He was a height, weight, and speed guy out of Michigan where they didn't run the ball. And CJ Stroud has said himself, he got flack for it, and I back him up and agree when he said that he's our generation's Andre Johnson. He's got the exact same measurables. He's 6'4", 220, runs a 4.4. He runs routes like a slot receiver at that size. He has elite hands. He had one of the best drop rates last year. One thing underrated about him is his ball tracking ability. Deep balls, underthrown balls, he recognizes early and knows when to go up for it. There's also times where, CJ hasn't always given the best deep balls, but he knows Nico will adjust. He'll be breaking in towards the post, and CJ might throw it over his other shoulder. Rather than turn back towards the quarterback, he'll turn away from the quarterback and then retract the ball, which in my opinion is the hardest catch in the NFL, and he makes it look easy. The sideline catch we saw on that 3rd down to ice the game against Indy, that was absolutely insane. He's going 100 miles per hour towards the sideline, still makes the catch and drops the knee. We saw it again on that scramble drill last week. Same thing, but this time the ball wasn't even in his reach. He stuck his hand out and tipped it to himself. I mean, and I haven't even mentioned the rack. Like, the run after the catch is just insane. I mean, and he's only getting more and more confident. He's your big classic number 1 X receiver. And, I know I've been saying top 5, and then shout out Barrett. He's on board, and I'm happy that he's with us. And I think a lot more people will continue to see that.
AD, as we look ahead to the Minnesota Vikings, who are 2-0, Sam Darnold is playing out of his mind. Justin Jefferson just continues to be the best wide receiver in the NFL. Real quick, what are your keys to the game? And give me a score prediction at the end.
Keys to the game: follow the blueprint that San Francisco had on offense. They put up numbers on that defense, on that Brian Flores defense. So take heed and pressure the quarterback. You're going to be able to pressure the quarterback again. Sam Darnold is not Caleb Williams. He's not getting out of that pocket like that. So those are my keys to the game: pressure the quarterback and follow the blueprint of the San Francisco 49ers from last week. And score prediction, I'm still going to stick with the 30 burger, man. I'm not going to give up on it until we get that 30 burger. I see the Texans winning 30-17.
And where can they find your latest work?
You can find me at the H-Town Rundown on all social media platforms, man.
Stressings, keys to the game, and final score prediction. Then let everyone know where they can find you and all your work.
Offensively, it's offensive line, it's communication. Brian Flores has this defense where they run simulated pressures, meaning where they have, 6, 7, 8 guys up the line of scrimmage, and they drop a majority of them back and only bring 4 or 5. So it causes a lot of confusion. The best way to combat that is for the O-line to be on the same page and communicate who has who. That's already been an issue for us already this year. You factor in the fact that we're going to be in Minnesota, which is a very loud environment. So you have the crazy defense, the noise, and now the potential absence of Juice Scruggs, who's kind of the center, the actual centerpiece, the center who starts the communication. So I mean, that could be a big issue on offense. And then on defense, it's simple. It's take Justin Jefferson out of the game. And I've been listening to Bill Belichick on ESPN on all these various shows he's on. He makes a good point of how you take away a number 1 receiver. It's kind of contrary to your common belief. You don't double, you double the number 1 receiver with 2 guys, and then rather than have Stingley, shadow Justin Jefferson one-on-one, you have the number 1 receiver, Jefferson, get doubled, the number 2 receiver get doubled, and then your best corner shadows the number 3 receiver. So that way they have to win with their number 3 receiver. So to me, that's the key. And then for the score, AD made a good point. The Niners moved the ball. I think we can put up points. You know, they had turnovers. I say we can win. I'll say 31 to. I like his score, 31-17.
And not least, Harley, keys to the game and quick score prediction. Plus, let us know where we can find all your great work.
It's Joe Mixon. Is he playing for this game? That's going to be a tough one for me.
Sounds like it.
It feels like I want to say yes, considering that he did come back in that game. Now, regarding they didn't really hand him the ball off a lot when he did come back, but I kind of wonder what they're doing with the run game there. Obviously, you know, we know that Cam Akers, he's already said I'm ready. So last time Cam Akers played Brian Flores was way back in 2020. Dolphins had a top 5 defense in terms of points allowed, and Brian Flores was really having that defense humming as well too. He's just got good credit all over his work and his resume. So Cam Akers had 9 carries for 35 yards in that game, 4 yards a carry. Hey, you give me 4 yards a carry, you know, that's something that they mentioned week 1 in the after the win against the Colts. You know, they talked about 4 yards a carry. Obviously, Mixon had gotten like 5.8 or something like that. I can't believe we got 6 yards of carry against them linebackers. Anyway, now Cam Akers gets 4 yards of carry in this offensive line. Another question is the wondering of Juice Scruggs, if he going to play or not. You know, like Stresson said, man, the center. Hell, Bobby Slowick said this 2 years ago when he just came in. The center isn't actually like one of the most important pieces when, you know, utilizing this offensive scheme. And so that's why Chris Myers was so massively huge for this team. For way back when with Matt Schaub and everything. And shout out to Chris Myers, man. Good pull right there. Anyway, the Houston Texans, they'll take this game. It's tough for me to predict against them. Sure, Sam Darnold and the Vikings, you know, they didn't have Addison and Jefferson and all this time in one of their drives. And the 49ers also didn't have CMC and Debo. And, you know, so I'm going to put it up like this. We got the better quarterback. You should win the damn game. Show up for the damn game. Don't drop 19 points on me. This defense should show up and show out, like AD said. It's capture the flag at quarterback. It's tough to not predict 30, man. It's just tough. This offense looks so scrumptious. You know, you got 3 damn good wide receivers. Hell, use them. Damn it. I mean, come on. So I'm gonna go 31-20. Maybe Vikings get a few more field goals, and man, you know, I got their kicker on fantasy, so you know, maybe I need a few more.
Brock Purdy was 28 of 36 for 319 yards. Yeah. They just had turnovers. They had a couple of fumbles and turnover on downs. They moved the ball up and down the field.
That's Brock Purdy. Now imagine CJ Stroud.
And we get to watch film on the exact same scheme that played the same defense the week prior. So I mean, it's like we can just watch what they did.
Come on, man.
Shout out to UCF Jaguars.
He tied for last place. What are you talking about?
Shout out to my guy. You know, it's been rough for him, you know, the past 2 weeks. I have the Houston Texans putting up 30. I have them winning 32. Let's go 17. I think Sam Darnold comes back down to earth. His completion percentage is 20 points higher this year than what it was last year. That's the Kevin O'Connell effect. And I just think Stephon Diggs is going to go back to Minnesota, have a $120, and get himself a tutty and be as dramatic as he can. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. And thank you all for being a part of this stream. We look forward to seeing you guys next week. And hopefully the Houston Texans are 3-0. I'm Ruben. That's AD. That's Harley. That's Houston Stressens. You guys have a very blessed night.